Hi, I'm Justin Michael Palomares and we'll be discussing the strategic HR management and planning. Now, for the chapter objectives, after this chapter, you should be able to explain strategic HR management and how it's linked to organizational strategies, discuss two possible contributors to competitive advantage and how HR contributes to each, describe how legal, political, cultural, and economic factors affect the global HR management, define HR planning, and outline the HR planning process, describe the means for assessing the external and internal environments of HR management, discuss several ways of managing a surplus or a shortage of human resources, identify why HR metrics consider both strategic and operational HR measures. Now, as for the nature of strategy and HR management, for the strategy, the proposition an organization follows for how to compete successfully and thereby survive and grow. As for the strategic HR management, the use of employees to gain or keep a competitive advantage resulting in greater organizational effectiveness. So we have this figure here. We have the organizational strategies together with the organizational culture, which when you combine them together has the need for human resources, quantity and skill levels, aka talent acquisition, training, upskill, etc. And we have on the other side here the competitive financial environment and the organizational situation. Put these two together, we have the available financial resources here. Now, when you combine the need for human resources and the available financial resources here, we have the HR activities, which include the following: the equal employment, recruiting and selection, HR development, compensation, performance management, and employee relations. Now, for the strategic success with HR practices, these are the best practices that HR follows in their process here. We have employment security, selective recruiting, high wages or incentives, information sharing and participation, training or cross training, promotion from within, and measurement. Now, for the implementation of HR practices, these are not widespread because the top management usually does not assess HR on its strategic contributions, and only about a quarter of firms monitor effectiveness or productivity statistics, and around a half of organization does not have a HR strategy. Now, 40% of firms report weak or no links between HR and overall strategic planning. Now, we have here in this diagram the operationalizing of HR strategy, which does need to think strategically. Now, when you're running a business, you have to understand the process of making money, making business, and you should be focusing on the key business goals such as KPIs, key performance indicators, quotas, targets, and know what to measure, meaning how many sales. If you're on sales, you do need to measure how many sales you do for a day, a week, a month, and then preparing for the future here, which in turn like training your employees, upskilling them, eventually promoting them. And this is going to be the operationalizing of the HR strategy. And here we have understand the business, and knowing the financials and the key drivers of business success is important to understanding the need for certain strategies. and focus on the key business goals, the programs that have the greatest relevance to the business objectives should get priority, and know what to measure. Metrics are, a vital part of assessing success. Without these numbers, you wouldn't be knowing if you're hitting your goals, hitting your KPIs, if you're doing something right or something wrong. Now, for preparing the future, the strategic thinking requires preparing for the future, not focusing on the past. The past can be helpful, when in terms of forecasting data, and other sorts like financials and everything. And for the next one, the next topic is going to be the common areas for HR strategies will be discussed by Bhea Victorine.
So now let's find out what are the common areas for HR strategies, followed by the sets of HR functions. The first area is planning. Under this is the organizational restructuring, job redesign, critical staffing levels, workforce additions or reductions, and lastly, the succession planning. The second area is the performance enhancement, which includes training and development, productivity or performance management, compensation or benefits review, retention increase, and lastly, technology systems. These functions are useful to define the level of capability or advantage distinguishing a company to its competitors or the competence of one organization. So for the next slide, as you can see in the word web and human resource as the center, here are the possible HR areas for core competencies. The first one is innovation. The next one is outstanding service. The next one is unusual quality. The next one is special skills. And lastly, productivity. HR as organizational contributor. HR plays a significant role in developing specific areas in a company and can be considered as the heart of an organization. So what are the HR contributions to the organization's effectiveness? The first one is the organization's productivity. The second one is customer service and quality, And lastly is, of course, financial contributions. So now, let's move on with the organizational productivity. When a company is highly productive and successful, there are several perks that can be enjoyed by the employees in a company and creates a company culture of excellence, resulting to an improved workplace environment. So what is productivity? Productivity is the measure of the quantity and quality of work done, considering the cost of the resources used, which can be referred to as the unit labor cost, which is computed by dividing the average cost of workers by their average levels of output. So to achieve that, the productivity, here are the approaches to improving the organizational productivity. The first approach is restructuring the organization, which includes revising organizational structure, reducing staff, aiding in mergers and acquisition. The second approach is redesigning work, which includes changing workloads and combining jobs, and reshaping jobs due to technology changes. The next approach is aligning HR activities, which includes attracting and retaining employees, training, developing, and evaluating employees, and lastly, compensating employees and other HR activities. For the last approach, we have outsourcing, which includes using domestic vendors or contractors instead of employees. The next one is outsourcing operations internationally. These approaches is essential to achieve the goals, which are the increase in organizational productivity and also to reduce unit labor costs. So now, what are the customer service and qualities that is linked to HR strategies? The first one is having managers and employees focus on customers contribute significantly to achieving the organizational goals and maintaining a competitive advantage. The next one is delivering high-quality services or products that meet customer needs. HR effectiveness and financial performance. So what is effectiveness? It is the extent to which goals have been met, and the efficiency, the degree to which operations are done in an economical manner. Moving on to the global competitiveness and strategic HR. So here are the types of global organizations. The first one is importing and exporting. The next one is multinational enterprise. And lastly, the global organization. Now let's talk about the global factors demand affecting an organization. To continue, here's Zeke Acosta.
Global competitive and strategic HR. Global legal and political factors comprehensive review of the country's political environment and employment laws before beginning operations. Global cultural factors. Compare cultures based on Hofstede's classifications. Global economic factors. Different countries have different economic systems. The differences between labor costs in Singapore and USA compared to those in Germany and Norway are significant. Hofstede's dimension of culture. There are inequality of power, long-term shorter operations, uncertainty avoidance, masculinity and femininity, individualism, group operations. So here's the chart, examples of the chart. Human resource planning. Human resource or HR planning is the process of analyzing and identifying the need for availability of human resources so that the organization can meet its objectives. HR planning responsibilities. Top HR executives and subordinates gather information from the managers to use in the development of HR projections for top management to use in strategic planning and settling organizational goals. Effective HR planning. Right people, right capabilities, the right time, and also the right place. HR unit. The HR unit participates in strategic planning processes for entire organization. It identifies HR strategies, designs data for HR planning, compiles and analyzes data from managers on satisfying needs, implements HR plan, and as approved by top management. As for the managers, identify supply and demand needs for each division department. Review or discuss HR planning information with HR specialists. Integrate HR plan with departmental plans. Monitor HR plans to identify changes needed. Review employment succession plans associated with the HR plan. HR planning issues in small businesses. Attracting, retaining qualified outsiders. The evolution of HR activities as the business grows. Family relationships and HR policies. Management succession between generations of owners.